I used to come into this podcast having just finished watching Widow's Bay, and so like I was in such a great mood because it's like my favorite show of the year and I loved it. And today I came into this podcast watching episode 2 of season 3 of House of the Dragon. And let me tell you,
Not the same.
not the same at all. Hello and welcome to Flanagan's Wake, a Doof Media podcast trying to fill Mike Flanagan's dad hole. You know, I wrote it and I was like, am I going to regret this? I was like, I literally, like, in my head said, you're going to have to say that out loud, Scott. And then I just kept it in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And here we are.
My name is Scott Daly, and joining me, as always, his NDA most certainly does cover illegal activities. It's Matt Freeman. How's it going today, Matt?
I'm really wishing I read that NDA just more and more every day.
Yeah. You gotta read those things, man. Pretty, you know me. I love to throw clauses in there.
You do.
Santa clauses.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're doing this whole podcast, is because I signed up.
This week on the show, our coverage of Mike Flanagan's The Fall of the House of Usher continues with episode 5, The Telltale Heart. Victorine's manipulation of her animal testing catches up with her as Al refuses to move on to human trials. It does end up with a human test of sorts. And
it works great.
It all works great as we hear the beating of that hideous fake heart. Matt, what did you think of episode 5 of Usher?
This one was really fun. You know, I felt like this one felt the most Poe to me. And it's probably obvious what I mean when I say that. But I mean, in terms of being a sort of riff on the Telltale Heart, you've got all of those elements that we talked about and enjoyed talking about so much when we were discussing the Poe stories, where the point of view character of the episode is sort of Victorine. I say sort of because we hop around a bit, but close enough. And we see the world through her distorted lens and her delusions that we're kind of slipping in and out of. And I just loved it. And you know, the use of the color orange and kind of the way the camera goes wonky when we're kind of going into her delusional world. It all felt very much like Poe, something Poe would have appreciated.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like what you said about we're firmly planted in her point of view too, because it strikes me that the structure of the show kind of allows that, because we have a lot less other characters now, right? We are episode by episode removing characters from the board, and so we just have like space to, like, I don't think, for example, Victorine would have worked as like the first death, because we would have been having to work on all the other 5 kids while doing Victorine stuff. But now that 3 of them are gone, we have the space to do all the Victorine stuff and still be doing our building blocks with Frederick, doing our building blocks with Tammy, and also still doing the 1970s and 80s stuff as well. So we just have kind of the runway to really zoom in on Victorine in this episode in a way that allows us to live in her POV for a long enough time for the reveal to really work on you, I think. Yeah, very effective. And it's like, you know, we talk about which kids they did for which and why they did the order like this and why which stories which. And I think it feels like maybe in the early like blocking and breaking of the show, they were like, Telltale Heart has to go in the latter half just because we need the space for it. It's a very specific vibe. It's a very specific mindset type thing. And yeah, so I'm with you on that. I really like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Before we get into the episode proper, just a couple quick announcements. First big one is, if you are listening to this, you will hopefully be aware that we got to sit down with Samantha Sloyan last week and chat with her for an hour or so. Man, that was a wonderful experience. It was a fun interview. She's really great. She's very fun, very nice, and also very thoughtful. I thought her answers to our questions were phenomenal. It's like, you go into an interview, you're like, I want to ask smart questions that get a person talking and thinking. And not to pat our backs too much, Matt, but I think we did a really good job with that, and I think she was up for it as well. I think she gave some phenomenal answers. There were moments where I was like just under my under my desk, under my breath. So if you haven't checked out that interview, please go do that. She's wonderful. Man, she's just great. It was just a great time I had.
Yeah. What a pleasure. I think that's been the great thing about these interviews that we've gotten to do is the folks we've gotten to talk to are so thoughtful and deep about their art.
Yeah.
And I love just giving them a space to talk about it in a way that I feel like they don't usually get a chance to do. Like you listen to a bunch of interviews, people, the sorts of questions that actors tend to get asked are just not the sorts of things I'm curious about, to be frank, I guess. So
sure.
So I just love it when they just kind of go, when they just talk and you get a richer sense of what that's like. So anyway, that's what we tried to do, and I thought that was a great interview.
Yeah. I mean, I think the kind of constant feedback we've gotten from the interviewees is that, like, sorry, I'm rambling, and I'm like, don't apologize to that. Like, that you're doing exactly what we wanted you to do, and I guess you're right. I guess that they're saying that because the other interviews they go on, that is not the desired effect. Whereas ours, that is absolutely the desired effect. And I think I agree with you. That's just a reflection of, I think we've always tried to make a show primarily that we like. Mm-hmm. And so those are the type of interviews that I typically like the most. So we've tried to do that. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying that. That's the 5th one we've done now, which is crazy. We've interviewed half of the Usher children, which is kind of nuts.
That's funny.
We just really thank everyone that's been a part of it. We thank Sam again. We had Matt's just a week before hers, which was awesome. This has been a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I've loved it. So hope you guys are enjoying those interviews. We put a lot of work and anxiety into them. I literally, like, the day after we were going to speak with Sam, I had to go to Disneyland, and like, I was just like, I got to go to Disneyland, and I was just like, the whole time I was like, I am so nervous, but it's not about traveling tomorrow.
Yeah. You get to start being nervous about travel, one day in advance.
At 11 o'clock at night. Yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah. So check out that interview. Check out all the interviews we've done. They're all there on the feed. Hope you guys enjoy them, and hopefully we will have some more for sure. All right.
Yeah.
I think one more thing, Matt.
Yeah, just briefly remind everybody over on the Patreon. Once we get to 2,000 patrons, I will be doing my tier list of all the Kingslingers books and the stuff we've covered. So go ahead over there. We're not that far away, folks. Like I said, get 80 or 90 of your friends, and we'll get there. We'll get there. And then I can do that. And also, just like, there's tons of cool stuff happening over on the Patreon. There's so many features happening all the time. It's more active than it's ever been. I think that's actually a true statement. So cool.
And that's something we've been trying to do, and we pride ourselves on making sure we have enough bonus content for the people that want to support us financially, but also just, like you said, it's a place where we release stuff. So check it out.
Patreon.com/doofmedia.
All right. The Fall of the House of Usher, episode 5, officially in the second half of the season. Matt, The Telltale Heart. This episode was written for television by Danny Parker with Rebecca Klingel, a story editor. So if IMDb is to be believed, it doesn't look like Mike Flanagan had a direct hand in writing this one, though of course we know he's, as the showrunner, he's kind of always involved in the story and what it's doing. This was directed by Mike Flanagan. The last two were Michael Fimagnari, so Flanagan is back. Like we said, they're doing half and half. So this one is Flanagan's. It was edited by Brett W. Bachman and Mike Flanagan, and Michael Fimagnari was the director of photography. All right, Matt, we begin at the beginning, first with that wonderful heart machine noise that, as we kind of open to black and then fade in on the episode, as we have done for every single episode, we hear the noise of the thing that will ultimately kill our Usher child. And in this one, it is that noise of the heart machine making that squeaking, beating noise, which, like, I don't know who exactly in the sound department is like the one responsible for coming up with that particular sound effect. But man, well done, right?
Yeah.
Like that is there's something about the squeaky whininess to it that I think makes it unsettling, like recognizable enough as a heartbeat, but different enough to not be a heartbeat. You know, it's like the kind of perfect blend, I think.
Yeah, I was just thinking it sounds unhealthy. You know,
yeah.
The sound that it kind of reminds me of. I didn't think of this until you started talking about that just now. But you remember when Mr. Burns says, "My heart is pounding like a jackhammer," and then we zoom into his chest, and this black shriveled heart just gives one like, and like that's the sound it kind of makes. Is this diseased, struggling, unhealthy, almost like a wheezing quality to it.
Wheezing, yeah.
Without sounding like it's obviously doing that on purpose. Like it could plausibly be a mechanical sound made by a device. But I love it too. I agree.
Yeah. From there, we go to New Year's 1980. We're back, Matt, flashing back with the Ushers in 1980. Still don't know what happened this night, why it was such a significant night, but I think we're starting to get a little bit of clues. And I think the thing to focus on with this scene is it brings into focus some of the questions on Madeline Usher that you and I were kind of knocking back and forth last week. First of all, the idea, like what does she want? And why, like why is she willing to like be the COO role, right? Why is she willing to be the person kind of behind the person, where Roderick Usher is kind of at least the more seen figurehead leader of the Usher family. And I thought her answer to Verna's question here was really interesting, because Verna basically says, would you want to be rich or famous? And she just immediately, like without even hesitating, rich. Okay, you're rich. What do you want to do? What would you do? And she said, I'd never let a man have power over me, and I'd figure out how to live forever. Which is in line with what we've seen from Madeline before. Just curious what your thoughts on this little wrinkle of it.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of her choosing to be rich rather than famous, I think, is like you just suggested, perfectly in line with her being willing to stand behind the scenes and really, in a sense, be the power behind the throne. We talked last week, I think, about the idea of like the COO is the one who actually does stuff, and CEO kind of like absorbs shots, which is very much what Roderick does. Like that's why Roderick thinks so much about spin. Not that she doesn't think about spin too, but she's very much like getting her hands dirty, actually doing these things. And then the idea of living forever, we introduced this idea previously with her questionnaire that she had Lorna do. But the idea is we're going to make basically a predictive model of you, and this is going to be a form of immortality. And maybe that's what she built. Maybe that's what she means by, that's her way of never dying. Maybe she's made something even more sort of sci-fi than that we just haven't seen yet. I mean, we know that she's mucking around in the basement with her gigabytes or whatever. Yeah. So maybe she's got some kind of Frankenstein machine down there for uploading her consciousness or whatever.
Sure.
But again, it's set up. It's not out of left field.
Yeah. I love that Verna calls her Cleopatra in this scene. Really interesting, especially because Cleopatra, she didn't make it that long. She died. Well, I don't know I think she was in her 30s. I don't know if that's young in ancient Rome. And she died by suicide, right? I think that's what happened with Cleopatra. I think
she let a snake bite her, right?
Yeah, Mark Antony dies. And then she commits suicide after she kind of loses power. So maybe that's a hint for the inevitable death of Madeline Usher. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah,
I mean, it's a good thought.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say in this scene, like, so the kiss between her and Verna was very illuminating as to, I think it has been true always that Madeline has not seemed interested in men, and maybe this is why. But man, just like the blocking of that kiss and the lighting, like Michael Famignari, just like, so if you guys haven't seen it in a bit, watch the scene again. Verna is like perfectly bathed in complete darkness, and Madeline is lit normally, and it's just this like it's so tight of a barrier between like literally their lips that like the lighting had to be pitch perfect, you know, like to just like there's no residue of the light that spills onto Verna that's lighting Madeline, and it's like how do you do that? Like that's just like lighting is. I mean, the work of a cinematographer continues to be interesting to me. I still don't really understand what a lens does, but like, stop it. You're doing your convex and concave thing for the people
convex
listening.
And concave, man. I mean, I think I didn't really think about this, but I think I assumed that the shot was like a digital effect somehow. But now that you mention it, I guess it seems very natural.
It might be. Yeah, I mean, it might be, but I really liked it. Verna is like completely bathed in darkness. Like you can barely even see her. She's just a shadow essentially during that kiss moment. And it really makes you feel like the otherworldliness of her, right? We're really starting to lean into that in this episode. You know, we have, I think our first moments were both Verna or both Madeline and Roderick allow themselves to be like, hey, looks a lot like that girl. They'd say it out loud. This looks a lot like that girl, that bartender that we saw back in 1980 during that night. Although interesting enough, Roderick, the way he frames it is like that bartender you made up. And I was like, he frames it that way. And she's just like, no, or imagined, I think is the word he uses. And she's like, no, I think not only was she real, but you probably banged her. And that's why this girl's running around, which is a very like logical conclusion to come to of who this person is. Right. I think we know a little bit better by this point. But yeah, I mean, if you're trying to figure out how this woman hasn't aged in 40 years, well, maybe it's her daughter is a pretty good explanation for it.
Yeah, it's very plausible. I mean, I thought I'm trying not to be too dumb here, but like that to me felt like the show is suggesting that to us as the answer, and I hesitate to accept the answer because it's like this is Edgar Allan Poe. We've seen lots of like pretty overtly supernatural stuff happening where
sure
it would be hard to accept. It's like, no, she's just an actor who is sneaking into these places and is putting on these costumes, like all you know. But at the same time, the show we've talked about the fact that many of the things that have seemed supernatural could just be drug induced or sleep deprivation induced hallucinations.
Sure.
The monkey one is is probably the one that I'd have the hardest time accepting as some kind of hallucination. But anyway,
yeah, like maybe like obviously like Verna doesn't have to be involved with the monkey one at all. Like that was just a monkey killed Camille. But I think the part you mean is like, why would Camille be seeing this woman in place of a monkey if this was just some sort of hallucination? Yeah. I mean, I think it's fun because Flanagan always does kind of play in these type of shows with is there something supernatural going on, or is this just all rationally explained by just mundane things? And I think you're right that like that is part of the fun of this show too, is we've seen Verna, we've seen Carla Gugino play like 6 different parts at this point in the show. It certainly seems like something more is going on, but there's always that little nagging piece that's like, well, but yeah. I mean, Leo was on a lot of drugs.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll just say it this way. Like the idea that Verna is indeed the daughter of Verna, and one of, you know, Roderick's secret 9th child is a very fun and compelling idea. Mm-hmm. The idea that he actually had another bastard child who decided, you know, her birthright, instead of falling into the failure modes of all of her other siblings, was going to be to destroy them all, you know, to bring them all down. Like there's something very like she is the true heir of Roderick Usher, because the true heir of Roderick Usher doesn't follow in his footsteps or lie in his shadow. She tears down the thing that she wants to destroy and just takes what she wants, right? So anyway, I'm not saying I am buying any particular story at this point, because it felt to me like okay, that's maybe an explanation that we were tempted to accept, but far from like the explanation.
Yeah. I mean, Roderick himself does say never touched her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he's how much can we believe Roderick Usher about anything is, I think, up for debate for sure. So, but yeah, no, I think when we got to that moment, I was struggling to remember, and maybe you can just tell me if that is something that you guessed early on in the show. Did you? I feel like I remember you saying something to the effect of like, "Oh, well, she could just be her daughter," and that's how we explain the not aging thing.
I might have said that.
Maybe I'm just making that up. I don't
remember saying that, but I might have said that. I don't know.
Okay. Did you catch in the picture of Verna we get the Perry picture though? What she's holding in her hands? Did you see it?
No, actually. What is
She's holding a rat. So this is the picture. I think we're made to understand this is the picture Leo took of her on his phone when he was like comparing the cat. So he took a picture of her holding the cat that he found, and then he was comparing that picture to the picture of his boyfriend with the cat, and making comments about how it was uncanny. The resemblance was uncanny. But the picture we see with of Verna in that scene is her holding a rat. It's a rat. It has its rat tail like coiled around her arm. It is not a cat. So I think this goes in what we kind of talked about last week, that the cat wasn't real. The cat never existed. And what she was holding in that moment was not what Leo was actually seeing at all.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I did want to talk about, so from here we go to the funeral of Perry, Camille, and Leo, the combined funeral, one of two we know we're going to have. This is fun because we get to see it as a kind of a reflection of the first funeral we see, which is actually the last funeral of the last three children that die, the ones that as of this episode are still alive. And how different they are, right? Like we had the comment in the very first episode was no one came to this funeral, that the last three Usher children and nobody showed up. And that is a big difference to this one, where there's a lot of people there actually. And so like at this point, people still were caring about the Ushers, and by the time the last three children die, it's like, I'm kind of done with this. But I was really interested in this funeral. We get to meet Matt. The mothers of Perry, Leo, and Camille are there. I think it's telling that Tammy is the one who asks who those people are. So she doesn't recognize those women at all. So she's never met her siblings' mothers, not one time during however many years they were part of the family. She's never met their actual mothers. And I think there's something I wanted to talk to you about, whether you saw it or not. I think there's this moment at the end of the funeral that I found really interesting. So the funeral ends. Roderick is standing at the front, and like a line of people are walking by him. And in like any other scene like this, it would be like, oh, these are people coming to pay their condolences, right? This is what you do at a funeral. Like you do the service, and then everyone walks by either the caskets themselves or the people that have lost the remaining people that have lost people. And they walk by and they say, I'm so sorry for your loss, right? They show affection. And there's this line in front of Roderick Usher, but nobody in any of the shots we saw are like giving him any amount of condolences. Like the most they do is like nod at him. We don't see any I'm sorry for your loss. We see no physical contact, no physical affection at all, no hugs, no moments of like anything. Like, and we don't know who any of these people are, right? Like these are no-name people that we've never seen before. Do they work at Fortunato? Were they friends or family of any of the kids that died? We don't know, but it's this very cold, like dead, empty thing where like these people are just walking by Roderick and like nodding at him, and he kind of like acknowledges them back by just being like, and then we just move on. It's so weird.
Yeah, I mean the two funeral scenes I think are both this very sort of cold and alienating. It's this enormous church, right?
Yes,
and I assume this is a real church somewhere where they're filming, although I actually have no idea. I mean,
it might be. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Let's say it is. It's so big and cold, and the way that it's shot, the way that it's lit, I think it also helps that whenever the priest is saying anything, he's saying these like arch and convoluted poems
he's not talking emotionally. Yeah, he's just reciting poetry. Yeah,
he's reciting poetry, and it's all very, it's Poe's kind of atmospheric darkness, right? It's not comforting. It's not like comforting stuff, right? None of it, to me anyway, none of it feels comforting. And his and yeah, like there's always too few people in the pews in both funerals. I'm just kind of naming all the elements that combine to make these funerals feel very lifeless and depressing, and like this is just the worst place to be. And yeah, like you say, even the other attendees of the funeral are not providing any kind of connection or anything to our characters.
Yeah, I mean, the only people we see like actually like physically saddened are the mothers of the 3 dead children, who we don't get to meet. We don't learn their names. They don't talk to anyone. Roderick doesn't talk to them. They don't talk to Roderick. There's a brief moment where he seems like he's walking over towards them, and then he just calls up Juno and walks down the center lane and doesn't say anything to them. It's like, oh, geez. So yeah, like I agree with you. I also think, like, I don't know. I don't think very many people are ever in this situation, but do you feel like having like a combo funeral is the play here? Like, is that the right move?
I have no idea. I have no idea what the etiquette is on this, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of lampshade this by having Leo say, like, what's worse, having to go to 2 funerals or having a double funeral, Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I always feel like I never really thought about this, but I guess I assumed that you did a joint funeral if they all died in the same incident.
Yeah, but this is a great conversation to have. Yeah, but like, no, like a family dies in a car accident, right? Like, you probably do a joint funeral for that, right?
I think so. I mean, at some point there's got to be some concession to logistics that you're not going to be like, all right, we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, funerals, when you could just do one funeral. And yes, every one of the dead is not individually honored, but like, is that really, you can double me up if you need to. Okay,
noted.
Yeah.
You know who would hate it though?
Who?
Every one of these Usher children would probably hate the fact that they had to have a double funeral. And I know for certain that Tammy and Frederick would hate that they have a double funeral with one of the bastards.
Yeah, true.
A triple funeral with one of the bastards. They would despise that for sure. But they're dead, so who cares?
That seems like a good segue to a particular scene that I really want to talk about. So
go for it. Which scene is that?
Well, it's pretty much immediately after the funeral.
We rented out an entire bar just so we could have a conversation scene.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love this scene. I love this scene in so many ways. Like, this just feels like one of those kind of the whole show was conceptualized with this being a critical scene type of scenes. I don't know if you feel the same, but like and not critical to the plot, just like the substance of the scene is these siblings show up and they all kind of have a slightly different idea of what they want to accomplish and why they're even there. And I think this is sort of like Victorine's last attempt at belonging. When we've seen her be very aggressive and uncooperative previously, so this is not like a surprise to us. But she was really trying in the beginning of the scene to be like, I'm not like those other ones. Like I'm more like you, because I just like you. I had to watch those other ones come in and watch the pie get smaller and smaller with each one of them that showed up. And isn't that terrible? And then the other two who are, the true born children are like, you're just one of them. What are you talking about? And it drives her insane. Like, she hates to hear this. It makes her so angry. And I just love the sort of seesaw nature of this conversation, where it starts out one way and then it kind of shifts a couple times. It's a relatively short scene, really. I just was totally taken in by this scene.
I agree with you. There's so many great things here. I think the first and foremost that you talked about, this is like the first scene with Victorine that we get in this Victorine episode. So it is, I think, our baselining scene for the episode, which is going to see her completely go insane by the end of it. And it is this wonderful, like, hey, it's not the 4 bastards and the 2 trueborn. It's the 3 sad little ones that came in, and then us 3 first ones that had to experience that. And yeah, I love that. Gosh, Tammy, her moment of like, I remember when you came, like, is just this full like rejection of that entire line of thinking from the get-go. Is like, do you remember when they first showed up? And she goes, I remember when you showed up. And it's like,
remember when you showed up?
Vic like continues. She continues in making her argument in like they were just idiots and all they cared about was money and they just wanted to fill that empty hole in them. And yeah, this us and them mentality. And yeah, you're absolutely right that the trueborn children just are just like, no, absolutely not. And watching us, and this is something I think, I mean, like, just let's just say here at the top, and we'll get into the details later, like, Tania Miller in this episode is fucking incredible. Like once again, we have episode 5 of a series in which Tania Miller has to like fucking nail it, and the entire episode is hinging on her. I'm talking about episode 5 of Bly, in which that's the one where it's revealed that she's been a ghost the whole time, and like all of the episode hinges on her nailing this emotionality of this thing that she's having to do. And here we have again episode 5, and she has to do it again, and she just fucking nails it. She's so good in this episode, and in the scene, it tracks a certain amount of behavior we see that carries through the rest of the episode, where she very strategically tries a certain track, and the second that stops working, she just like abandons it and just jumps to a new track, right? And that's what we see here. Her first track is like, I'm just like you. I'm one of you. We're the same. We should be together. We should support each other. Like, isn't it sad what happened to them? I'm not putting myself in that group. That doesn't go over well. And we immediately switch to,
my mother.
Well, I had it way harder than you guys, actually. It's like, okay, we are different, but we're different in that you guys had it easy and I had it hard. Which is this, watching like incredibly rich people have like a contest on who had a tougher childhood is like, okay, guys, I don't have a lot of sympathy for any of you, but it is just really interesting seeing how she does that and how she operates in that scene. And we kind of see the same thing with Ruiz later, her argument with her girlfriend, that as soon as she realizes one thing isn't working, it's like she jumps to a new thing. And like literally mid-sentence, she jumps to a new thing. It's remarkable, actually.
That's a great observation. Yeah, she is continually reinventing her reality around her, which then snaps and becomes entirely literal when she just starts being delusional.
Yeah. I also think there's a subtle thing here that I really liked, and I wrote this down. It's the moment when Frederick, they're all complaining about their security guards, and Tammy says, well, if I better check the NDA, because if he's going to be sitting outside of my door, I want to make sure it's an ironclad NDA. And Frederick says, oh, right. The hookers.
Staying outside my place.
Oh, right. And Tammy just like
the hookers
nods. She's just like mid-drink, and she just like, yeah. It's this moment of like, she's not ashamed. It's not a reveal that her brother was aware of it. Obviously, he was aware of it. She's not hiding it, at least amongst her family. And I think actually, upon reflection, one thing it really does is it demonstrates that there is this kind of bond between Tammy and Frederick that Vic is not a part of. That this is like siblings being siblings, where you can do something like that. Oh, right, the hookers. And she's just like, yeah, the hookers. And Vic is separate from that. And I think it, like, I don't know. I don't even know if there's like a shot of Vic clocking that moment. I don't think there is. I don't think it matters, but I think it's all part of painting the picture of what this relationship between these siblings is, and how the trueborn relationship is fundamentally different from the rest of them.
Yeah. Not that they have a great relationship either, though, but
no.
but yes, that is true. They have something more, right? We talked. I like this continuing thread. We talked a bit about how like you're, kind of no matter who you are, you have this like craving for parental approval that never kind of goes away.
Yeah.
But I think, and we talked. I think we talked about how this is true of family, especially for rich people, and how the people that you knew before you were rich are important because they're the only ones whose judgment you can trust. But I guess I'll just mention, extend that to talk about the siblings, where they all desperately approve each other's, approval and what did I just say? They desperately seek each other's approval and belonging in the group. Yeah. And the fact that none of them will give it to each other is actually incredibly painful to them. And we see some inter-bastard solidarity, right, between like Leo and Perry, for example.
I love the show because we get to say the phrase inter-bastard solidarity.
Yeah, me too. And but like they clearly all are resentful and jealous of the oldest two, who have never actually cared about them or loved them. And
and they all have a dad hole.
They all have a dad hole.
Thanks, Mike, for that.
Dad hole.
Yeah, they have this desperate hole they're trying to fill with anything they possibly can. And like it's funny that Frederick and Tammy like point out Vic's hypocrisy is like, you have that too, Vic. You do. They don't say, and so do we, but come on. Yeah. We know that. They probably are even aware of that on some level, that they have that as well.
Yeah. I by the way, I was going to get to this eventually, but like the specific description of the dad hole it immediately conjures in your mind the idea of like a hole in your heart. Of like, where is the hole? Where is the dad hole? Well, it's here. It's where it's a hole in your heart, which is exactly how this episode ends, with her stabbing herself in the heart, with her dad being right there, which is an escalation in so many different ways.
Yeah, and her whole like, I think it is true. Like, I think it's generally true that every single one of the Usher children like want daddy to love them. I think because we're doing the Telltale Heart and we're doing so much heart like symbols throughout this episode in particular, that it is Victorine that seems the most desperate to earn daddy's love. I mean, she's literally like building a machine that makes a heart work, and it's for her daddy. So, love me, daddy. Here, let me give you this thing that helps your heart work. Please love me. So yeah, I think that's great. And I love that, like, I do believe you're right that this scene originated in her genuine interest of like, I want us to come together. I want this to be a moment. And I think it does for Frederick too, of like, I thought we were just going to come and toast our dead siblings. And it completely devolves into the three of them just arguing with each other. Because they don't, like, for all the, the hookers of it, they don't actually know how to behave like siblings. They don't actually know how to behave like family. They have been pitted against each other for so long, for their entire lives, essentially, or their entire lives as ushers for the bastards, that they just don't know how to be siblings to each other. And I mean, I think that is something touched on directly, what Roderick says at the end of the episode when he compares them to a lion pride. Which I don't know if we want to tackle that now, Matt, but that metaphor made me real mad at this guy, because I was like, none of what you said makes any fucking sense, Roderick.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me mad too. I wonder if he really means it, or if that's just more of an excuse for him being so awful.
Sure.
Let's just take it at face value and say that, like, yeah, he has actually intentionally caused his kids to compete against each other, because he, in his mind, this actually is going to make them stronger.
I always thought of you as a pride of lions.
I think this is a gross misunderstanding on how like lions work.
Just to grapple.
Yeah, right. I mean, like kids are supposed to play, and sometimes play rough to find their boundaries and to practice.
Children, Like, is it like, I actually researched this because I was listening to him talking about, and I was like, I don't think the female lions like fight each other so they're stronger for fighting other things. Like when adult lionesses fight each other, it's to like, I want to be the one in charge.
Yeah.
It's not to strengthen the pride. I mean, it is in the overall sense of like weed out the weaker elements, but it's not like the idea of like, you're all going to sharpen your claws against each other so we can go out and tackle the world. Like that's not why lions fight each other.
Right.
That's not why lions fight each other at all. Yes, the children will like wrestle with each other for like practice and hunting and like even like social stuff of learning what the appropriate social boundaries are of like what you can and cannot do to each other, right?
Yeah.
Like it is a learning exercise. But importantly, those are children, like the young lions.
Well, it's just, I mean, even like dogs, you know, you socialize a puppy into not biting.
Yeah.
And animals socialize each other into not using their claws, right? They're like the adults will actually like, you know, nip them or whatever if they use too much force, or if they use claws or whatever, because it's like, hey, we're not trying to hurt each other. You're trying to calibrate. That's actually part of controlling your strength so that you can hunt is, you know, not using too much when you don't need to, right? I just think it's you know, it's dumb. It's just
also,
dumb.
Yeah, I mean, and just to say it so we can say it, people are not lions.
What? The other thing about his behavior here is that this is completely not how him and his sister interact. Like he and his sister are not two lions who practiced tearing each other apart with their claws their whole childhood. They were incredibly close, perhaps too close, if that means anything. And actually had I think what I mean by that is like they had this weird kind of codependency thing where she actually just kind of bosses him around, and you know, again, sort of is his hype man, but ultimately she is the linchpin of his entire ego structure.
Yeah,
which maybe let's just bend over backwards to be generous to Roderick and say he doesn't actually like that. He doesn't. He on some level knows that his relationship with his sister is not healthy for him, and so again, just my back from bending over this far. He doesn't like it, and so he's trying to make sure his children don't recapitulate that same kind of relationship with each other. But he overdoes it. He overdoes it to the extent that they have no relationship with each other.
Yeah, which is also silly because like if we're going to go back to our lion metaphor, like lionesses hunt in a pack, like they work together. So the idea of like you're going to sharpen your claws on each other and make you hate each other to strengthen you all for the hunt. Like part of Roderick and Madeline's success is probably that they have stuck so close together and that they are a team. They are tackling everything as a team, for good or ill, obviously ill. But yeah, it's just like, he's dumb. He's really dumb. It drove me crazy. But it's supposed to, right? I mean, like this is the thing we're supposed to be feeling in this moment it is this like we've kind of jumped to the end of the episode, but it is this culminating moment where he goes to her and he's desperately trying to repair this already too far gone relationship, partially because Victorine has gone insane and we don't even fully realize that yet at that moment. But I thought it's really interesting because he does that where he's like, I'm sorry, I pitted you guys against each other. I was too hard on you. It was supposed to make you stronger, but it didn't. And I'm sorry. And then he goes, but your work is just so important. And I'm here for you to give you anything you need for your work. And that's like the exact wrong thing to say to Victorine, because like that's the thing that drives Victorine insane, right? That's the ultimate thing, is that like the premium and the importance placed on this thing that she was doing, making this heart thing because her dad wanted it so much. And I think, you know, I don't know if we ever actually said this, but like it's been $200 million. It's been a long time. He was diagnosed with CADASIL relatively recently, but he also knew it was a genetic disease that his family had. And so I think we can probably safely say that his interest in the heart mesh thing in general was as a hedge against I might get this disease in the future, and maybe also part of Madeline's "I want to live forever" shtick as well. So like they pushed her into this and played up the importance of this, and her whole image of herself and her dad hole is that like it's not me. Yeah, I'm going to keep saying it, Matt. Deal with it. It's not me that he loves. It's not me that he's interested in. It's this thing that I made. It's this thing that I made. And if this thing doesn't work, then I am nothing to him. And so she is willing to, at the end, give her own heart to make her daddy happy.
Yeah.
Because she's gone crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. He has simply reinforced to her this idea that is why.
Because he can't even do like this moment of actual bonding and sympathy. Like it has to go back to the thing, because I think she's right that he doesn't love her.
Yeah.
All he cares about is this thing.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some level of paternal love there. It's complicated, right?
I mean, it's, I don't know. I guess this is a place we kind of haven't gone, but like he really doesn't care about his kids, right? He doesn't. The first two he lived with when they were children at least. Mm-hmm. But I can't remember a scene of him playing happily with his children, right? Like I'm thinking about Haunting of Hill House. We got all these great scenes where we kind of show like, Hugh Crane was a flawed man in some ways, but and maybe he made some bad decisions. Maybe he made some calls that in the moment seemed like it was all he could do, but then later you see the repercussions, et cetera, et cetera. Fundamentally, you believe that he loves his children and that he thought he was doing the best for them. But that is never, we never get those scenes with Roderick. We never see him being a good dad. We never see him even like care, like looking at his children that I can recall.
Yeah.
And that's the children that lived in the house with him when they were children, when they were little. Think about the ones who showed up when they were 20 years old. Like there's no real, I mean, I don't want to say this can never happen, because I'm sure this has happened before, where a child met their father later in life and the father said, "Oh my God, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful opportunity for me to play a role in your life." I see no indication that Roderick Usher saw it that way. He saw them as a new opportunity.
Yeah.
A useful and interesting tool for him to add to his arsenal.
I agree. I think at best and most charitable to Roderick, we can say that he saw his willingness to allow them to call themselves Usher and inviting them into his inheritance and money as his affection and love. He's like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean? I let you call yourself an Usher, and I gave you a whole bunch of money."
Yeah. Which notably are the things that his father did not do for him. And
right.
He's grading himself on a curve, you know, so he can get away with all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, his father never acknowledged him in his lifetime, and his mother was an abusive monster. So like, I think we can say sympathetically to Roderick and Madeline Usher, they did not have good examples of parenting, certainly. But that doesn't, of course, forgive them for their trespasses at all.
Right.
They have perpetuated that in a different way. Yeah, it is interesting how in his mind he's doing the right thing, but he just doesn't know that he's actually destroying these people.
Yeah. I think he just simply doesn't know how to love people.
Yeah.
Like it's and I was okay. This might seem like a bit of a leap of a segue, but I was thinking about this. And I just kind of solved it in my head just now. So I was thinking like the element of Roderick Usher being a ladies' man is weird to me, because he doesn't, aside from the actor being very handsome and the character being rich, I'm like, what about him makes him a ladies' man? Like, because he doesn't behave in a way that's very charismatic usually. Like he's kind of sleazy and cruel and cold and short with people.
Yeah.
So what do women see in him? And then I think the answer is like, well, it's not that women see anything in him. I mean, he's rich, like that's one quality, but it's more that he has a mom-shaped hole, or maybe he has dad and mom-shaped holes that he wants to fill. So he's just trying to find, he doesn't know what love looks like. Like I said a second ago, he doesn't really know how to love. So he's just like throwing himself at these women. And then he's handsome and rich, and then one thing leads to another. Yeah. And so it's not even, I think I just realized, like, it's not that he's a ladies' man, it's that he just is compulsively throwing himself into these situations that result in people getting pregnant, because he wants to feel that someone cares for him for a second, and that's all he can do.
Yeah, I like that you're putting the word shaped between mom and hole and dad and hole as an attempt to make it not sound gross, but you can't do that.
Got your back with that one.
Got to fill his mom hole. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like, I think to me, it was less like, why do all these women want to sleep with Frederick Usher? Because that's an obvious answer. But like, why is he so invested in like going out, and like everyone describes him as like Madeline describes him this way. I think Tammy says like he dove off our mother into a sea of strange pussy, which is a remarkably written line. But yeah, we see this version of Frederick Usher, and then obviously the man that we're seeing now is like an older man kind of at the end of his rope, and so he's not acting like the type of person that is like obsessed with fucking everything that moves. But obviously that's been his modus operandi for his entire life, and we haven't really seen that yet. And I think you're right, it's less about, oh, I just like banging, and more about, I am desperately searching for something that I've never been able to have.
And while I'm making just these wild segues, he's desperately searching for something, okay? And then we were wondering, well, why did he marry Juno instead of just sleeping with her and moving on? And it's like, well, she gives him the thing that he's been desperately searching for, which is this kind of relief or absolution or forgiveness or whatever concept it is that he needs to alleviate the guilt that he has been carrying for his whole life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that, because that was something definitely that I think we had a conversation about this earlier, but the show really highlights in this episode that like him marrying these women, these conquests is actually very unusual for Frederick Usher. That he married Annabelle Lee. We still don't know what happened there. She's not around anymore, one way or another. And then he's slept with woman after woman after woman throughout his entire life, and then suddenly here he marries this woman, and that was like the ongoing question of like, this is a break in form, this is a break in what he does, this is a break in how he behaves. And I think you're right there. I think that the answer was with, you are my beautiful perfect proof at the end, that and combining that idea with what you just said of the mom hole, he's desperately searching for some sort of love, and he's confusing this absolution of guilt that he perhaps feels by this woman representing a truth that he like. I think the like ongoing thing with Ligadone is like, do these people know it's awful? Like, the idea, we talked about this last week, I think, the idea that like she represents a person that takes Ligadone but has no ill effects to it. Is that him trying to convince other people of that? Or is that him trying to convince himself of that? And like, he has to be aware of the truth of it, right?
I don't know. I think that's a really interesting question. I was thinking about this a bit this last week, because I hadn't mentally revisited the whole opioid crisis element, like the whole true to life, ripped from today's headlines element of this in a while. And correct me if I'm wrong, I could misunderstand something, but like, it's not that doctors prescribing opioids is like categorically horrible. Like the problem, the reason why there was an opioid crisis is that there was this massive push, this like unethical push from the drug companies to incentivize doctors to prescribe these drugs in situations where they weren't necessary. That was the actual like ethical lapse. Like having a drug, like selling a drug that's a slow release opiate, like, okay, yeah, we probably need that. There's probably all kinds of use cases for a slow release opioid for, post surgery or whatever. The problem is they weren't prescribing it for post surgery. They were prescribing it for whatever.
Yeah.
And then people would become addicted to it. So like, I'm trying to recover like what my point was here. I guess it's just like the idea that it's a good drug and but like at the same time you did something horribly unethical in the way that you foisted it upon the world. Like these things can both be true.
Yeah,
I guess.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think that might be so intrinsically wrapped into what Ligadone is supposed to be that there's no separating those two things. Like I think in his original pitch, Frederick Usher pitched this as like the perfect catch-all drug that works for, your casual headache as much as works for your recovery from major surgery. That it's this perfect middle ground that will solve everyone's problem. So that is a pitch like kind of born in the center of what the thing's supposed to be. So yeah, I mean, outside of the fact that certainly there were kickbacks in the world of the show, just like there are in real life around the overprescription of these drugs, even the marketing of it seems to suggest, at least in the world of the show, that this is meant to be used for the small thing as much as it is the big thing. And if they knew that it was highly addictive, that it did have bad side effects, and they continue to market it that way anyway, that is a horrible, like monstrous ethical breach, right?
Yeah.
So I think the ongoing question of the show is kind of, is Roderick, how fully aware of that is Roderick, right?
Yeah. And I think what we've seen from Roderick over and over is that he is profoundly capable of doublethink, where like one half of his brain can know that and the other half can verbally and eloquently deny it.
Yeah.
And kind of seem to believe it.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. Yeah. And right now we have this wonderful thing where his kids' ghosts continually call him on his bullshit every time he starts doing that.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love it.
You too.
Yeah, dad hole. Just say it again. Can we talk about Frederick a little bit here?
Yeah.
Speaking of dad hole, just once again, Henry Thomas, just his reaction to the phrase dad hole, where he says it twice and gets this disgusted look on his face. But I wanted to talk about something with you with this, because we have that moment early in that scene we talked about where he's very funny again and kind of a goofy, like, idiot type moment, and we see that at the end of that scene as well, where Tammy is like, do you think the $50 million is still in play? And Henry Thomas gives this line read that is like, he says, probably not with all the dead people and stuff. And it's just like the goofiest fucking thing in the world. Like, he's just so wonderfully like stupid as this character. But then we do this really interesting thing from there. And I think in our interview with Sam Sloyan, she kind of previewed the kind of dark turn for Frederick that we're going to get in the show. And I think this is the groundwork of it, because in the very next scene from Frederick being this like goofy, all shucks idiot, is the Frederick wanting to take Maury home scene, where he's like really obsessed with this idea of bringing her home. And we see kind of the darker, nastier side of Frederick. We see this person who says lines like, are you mistaking me for a civilian? I'm not a fucking civilian. Who is like against doctor's orders, wants to do this just because he's an usher and we can do that. There's no reason to do it other than we want her home. And then even at the end of the scene, I don't know if you noticed this, but like, it's established in the beginning moments of the scene that she blinks twice for yes, so we can assume blinks once for no. And he says to her, don't you want to come home? And she blinks once. Mm-hmm. She's saying no. He's not listening to what she wants at all.
Yeah. No.
And
he doesn't care. He probably knows she doesn't want to come home, and he's like, I'm going to get you home, and you're going to explain yourself to me, because he is spiraling into a more Edgar Allan Poe character, paranoid. I mean, it's not even paranoid fantasy, because she actually did do this thing where she went to this, orgy rave secretly, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
she did, but she didn't do anything.
Yeah,
right.
true.
Like
Yeah.
like we talked about, the burner phone is not actually hers. Like that. Like Perry just gave that to her. There's nothing bad on there. She went to the sex rave, and we will never know what she was prepared to actually do at that rave. Right. Was she actually going to start like fucking a whole bunch of people, including her brother-in-law? Look, maybe. We'll never know. Acid rain stopped that. But she didn't actually do anything except lie to him, which is not good. But he's gotten in this obsessive cycle with it where he just cannot let it go. And once again, Henry Thomas, just like one of my favorite actors of all time, because he can play this goofy all shucks guy, and then he can turn on the Gerald's Game dad stuff like in a moment where he's sitting down there talking to Lenore.
Look at your own mother.
And he this like, hell, look at your own mother.
Who
she lied, and it just gets so immediately
with her girlfriends that night and lied.
Creepy and scary.
Your own mother who lied.
So fast.
Yeah.
And like he just goes from this like, look at this, like literally an episode ago we were laughing at the fact that he ran up 7 flights of stairs because he's afraid of an elevator. What an idiot.
Yeah.
And he just gets so scary so quickly.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right about the Gerald's Game comparison. I'm also thinking about like The Shining, where Jack is sitting on his bed.
Yeah.
No, I love his he on a dime becomes this like imperious dickhead when he's talking to the doctor, which reminds, like, no other moment in the show has really made me see him as being like his dad as much as that. Just the casual. It's not even like a put on. Like he says it. He's like, maybe if you, I don't remember what he says exactly, but it's like, maybe if you do a good job, I'll actually keep you on staff or something. And he like turns his back on the guy. So he's not, which I saw as such a like fantastic sign of like, he is actually as confident as he appears to be, because he's not watching the guy for his reaction. He's not doing this for some kind of ego points. He's actually just like, do what I fucking said. And then he just like turns his back, and it's like, wow, this is how he sees people. He is actually like this. It's only his dad whose approval he cares about. Everybody else is kind of pawns to him, I think. And that's not a fact that was necessarily evident to us. Yeah.
I think you're right. And I think Henry Thomas navigates that both versions of him pretty perfectly. Man, the end of that scene, Matt, where like Lenore is like, I'm glad mom's home so she can start to get better and we're all together. And she walks out of the room, and then he just says, we've almost got her. It's like the what the fuck are you talking about? It's so scary.
Yeah, I love that. I love that too. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just say she's almost within my grasp.
Oh man. So that, I think we're kind of jumping all around. That's fine, but I do want to bring that to our Vic and Dr. Ruiz moment, our Vic and Al moment at the beginning, near the beginning of the episode. First of all, Turn Around Bright Eyes is playing as they have this big drawn out fight between the two of them. And I just remind you that like the Telltale Heart, like part of the reason why he killed the old man was because his eye and the way his eye bothered him. And Turn Around Bright Eyes is playing. So that's Total Eclipse of the Heart. It's great. It's wonderful. So this fight, Matt, one of the things I've really enjoyed on spending a lot of time and thinking about the show is the way in which the pieces of previous stuff tie into like everything we've seen with Roderick in the past and in the present tie in with how his kids behave. And man, this whole fight about the forging of signatures on forms, the falsifying of the data, so wonderfully, just perfectly echoing the Usher and Rufus conversation we saw about that. Only this time, Vic, because of her father's influence, is fully taking on the Rufus side of that equation, right? She's just like, this is how this industry works. This is what you do. And she even says to her dad, she's not being part of the team, which is exactly stuff that Usher got from Rufus. Mm-hmm. So we just continue to see this kind of cause and effect chain of how he behaved to Usher, and then that informed how Usher behaves, and that has been trickled down to his kids. And I just love that we continue, like, just the echoes of all this stuff are through it all. Conversations bounce off of other conversations that we've already seen in the show so many times.
Yeah, and speaking of bouncing, I mean, we see two marriage, not marriage, two relationship arguments in this episode, right? Which is, I'm trying to think if that's ever really quite happened that way before, but I don't think it has. I think this is kind of their relationship arguments episode where we see, and they're not just arguments, they're like detonations. One of them ends in a murder. What is the paperweight or the statue that she throws? Like, is that
I think it's a bookend.
A bookend.
I think it's just a marble bookend.
I just wonder if it is like an object that, it's a raven or something. I didn't catch it.
I didn't see anything. I thought the same thing and tried to see if I could tell. It just looked like a stone bookend.
That's what I thought too. Just wondering if you saw something other than me.
No.
And then the other one does not end with a murder, but it kind of does, because man, she really goes after Bill T. And like that is a calculated to end the marriage a series of things to say to a man,
Yeah. And he says, if I walk out the door, I'm not coming back. And I believe him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I one interesting commonality between these two scenes is that they both involve this sort of like legal encroachment of like forms and legal agreements into the relationship, where in the one case it has to do with the forging of the signatures, and you realize like a lot of their romantic relationship is intertwined with this medical thing they're doing, which is itself intertwined with these secrets and legal documents and stuff. And so now she's ensnared her by forging these documents, and it's this terrible, terrible situation. And then in the other case, it's, well, good luck with that, because I own the Bill T brand.
Yeah.
Which is like it's like, oh my God, like you're just stealing his livelihood, because he can't, even if they split up, he can't just keep doing his job because she owns, like, that's such a evil thing to do, right? And there's something about this kind of juxtaposition of these two scenes that really puts a pinpoint on this idea of like how our legal contractualization of life has like sucked all the joy and humanity out of things. It's like, these are supposed to be romantic relationships. Like, why are we bringing up who owns something?
Yeah.
But in these kids from the family they're in, they always have to think about who owns what and who has agreed to what and who is legally obligated to what, because that's what their family is. Their family is a business. Their family, the Usher family, is like an enterprise.
Yeah.
More so than it is a family.
Yeah, I mean, like Madeline said that to them in the very first episode, right? Like, Fortunato is your life. The business is your life. It is the reason for all of this, and you will protect the business, protect the family above all. So yeah, everything in that frame of mind becomes transactional. Relationships, business, it's all business. All of it's business, and it's all predicated on this idea that success is the most important thing ever. And that's every one of these kids is like, just the idea of doing this thing that we talked about in the very first episode of this like starter loan that Roderick gives every single one of these kids, is this idea that the entire relationship is predicated on your successful ability to build a business or not. And that's how every one of them look at it. So yeah, it makes perfect sense that like every single one of these people is romantically involved with the people they work with, right? Like every single one of them. Vic and Ruiz, Camille and her assistants. I guess Frederick, not as much. Leo is Leo like plays a lot of exceptions, right?
Yeah.
Because Leo sees himself as independent from it. But I think that is a common trend for a reason, that like everything's transactional, everything's the business, everything's Fortunato, everything's Usher. why would I spend my time with someone if he wasn't helping me advance my success?
Yeah.
Love doesn't have anything to do with it.
I mean, even Frederick's wife had a kind of success of her own, you could say. Like it wasn't like she was crushing it, right? But she made the cakes, is all I mean.
Well, and she had a TV show of some sort. So I wonder if that was like, we're just seeing their transactional relationship in a further along point than anyone else's. And even, I mean, you could even argue like Lenore is their transactional relationship, right? Because one thing that's true about the Usher family as we see it right now is that there are no other descendants, right? There's these children that are dying. The only grandchild that Roderick Usher has is Lenore. So maybe that is part of what Roderick did transactionally. Is like, I need to marry a woman to give my father an heir. And that is my role. That is my, so yeah, I mean, I think you could argue that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the moment where she picks up the paperweight and throws it, and then we cut to black, were you immediately like, oh, that hit her and she's dead?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the show knows that you're going to do that,
Look,
right?
I'm sorry.
I think it is really interesting, though, that we intentionally cut from that to Vic in her office, presumably the next day, on the phone with Al, begging her to come back. And there's a moment there where you're like, maybe you start to doubt your certainty in what you think was probably going to happen. And there's a second thing that happened to me where I was like, oh, we're doing the telltale heart thing where this person that is insane is demonstrating how actually not insane they are, because look how meticulously I planned this murder in this short story. But in maybe this version of it, look how meticulously I planned my alibi, which is I killed this woman and now I'm going to be calling her phone constantly and leaving voicemails. So you could say, I didn't know she was dead. Look, I was trying to reach out to him. We had a fight and she stormed off, and I've been trying to reach out to her. And I mean, whether that would have actually worked with the police is obviously immaterial. But like, I think that is a frame that the show wants to put you in. And then we see eventually by the end of it, like, no, actually, it's just because she's insane and has not fully even really accepted that she killed her.
Yeah, my feeling was the latter part of what you said, that she was leaving a digital paper trail to make it seem like there was, oh, I called her. I've been calling her, But no, I think that actually it has the structure of like sort of the best kind of double switcheroo, where you think you're clever because you're like, I caught you. She's actually dead. And it's like, no, you're supposed to get that. What you're not supposed to get is that Victorine doesn't realize or isn't looking straight at the fact that she killed her. Yeah.
And again, this is where I think Tania Miller really has to play this so well, because, just like we talked about in Bly, she has to both be a ghost and play a person that isn't aware she's a ghost, but she has to like kind of play both. Here, she's got to play a person that is insane, but does not realize she's insane. And we're so clued into her point of view that we have to kind of see both performances pinging at the same time. Like, we have to be able to buy both of them. That like, this is a woman who is completely in control of herself, and this is a woman that is maybe teetering on the edge of insanity. We don't fully realize that she's tottered right off. But I just think she does a really remarkable job. It reminded me so much. We play so much with. It's not the exact same thing she had to do in Bly Manor. I think it's actually very different, but it's the same kind of challenge that Mike Flanagan is putting to her of like, is you got to kind of play multiple things simultaneously and have these realizations while also experiencing this other stuff. And you have to play a thing that will be recontextualized later. That just feels like very challenging acting to give her. And it's like, he does it again to the point of like, Tania Miller, I know you're up for it. I know you can do this. And
that's true. I mean, both roles have this sort of ambiguity where there's a mystery where you detect that there's something going on under the surface here that you're not getting, and it kind of hooks your curiosity. Yeah. And then you realize later, like, there were kind of two possible interpretations of what's happening here, and her performance has to support both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She's so good. And it escalates. I love what you said about the way the camera shifts, the way we do these kind of insane angles, probably with some different kind of lenses if we knew what those were. And also just the coloring and all of it really helps accentuate this. One of my favorite shots is, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when we have this whole wonderful thing with Verna where Carla Gugino is literally like going back and forth between the two voices she's doing, one for the character she's playing and then just one just as Verna herself. And then she walks out the door. We cut to Vic opening up the vent and sticking her head in looking for the beating of the heart. And then when she pulls out again, we see a wide shot of the room and it has been completely torn up. It has been completely destroyed. And this great edit for when she bends down to go into that vent, the room is fine. And when she pulls out of the vent, the room has been completely destroyed. It's just very, very well done. Very well done.
I love that too. Love that shot.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Verna stuff?
In this episode, with Victorine specifically,
yeah,
the fact that she shows up. I mean that one's okay. So I thought it was kind of fun because I thought we were going to take it further in the direction of like the surgery is going to get performed on Verna or something.
Yeah,
but the show does a fun thing where Verna kind of at the last second is like, well, I'm actually just gonna go, and you can call me when you have Dr. Ruiz.
Yeah.
Which she knows the Dr. Ruiz is dead already. But it's interesting because it's like this plays really in a really fun way with the notion that we've introduced that maybe she's not supernatural and she's just a person who's screwing around with everyone. Because that is what she would do if she were indeed not a supernatural demon creature. She would be like, I'm going to opt out of the heart surgery and let you twist in the wind.
Yeah.
So the interesting part of the Verna addition to the story is almost her absence from it.
Yeah.
And what I mean is like, okay, she instigated things by making it seem to Victorine that there was this imminent, urgent opportunity where she needed to falsify the paperwork. And then she kind of disappeared. So having falsified the paperwork, she tipped Victorine over the edge. And now she has this fight with her girlfriend and then killed her, causing her to spiral into madness. And Verna doesn't show up again. And the novel thing in this episode is that it's not Verna who shows up at her house at the end to goad her on into stabbing herself in the chest. It's actually Roderick, who for the first time in the show has had a real direct one-on-one involvement in the death of the episode. So a lot of stuff is different here.
Yeah, I agree. Verna's absence in the death is notable because it is the only one so far that Verna has not been directly at the final moment of her death. Although there is a moment, and this is one of the things I did want to talk to you about. So we get this beautiful scene, like basically Bruce Greenwood gets to like monologue as Usher for a while, where he starts on the ground in the basement looking at a wall that doesn't matter and is surely not important to anything. And then he basically comes to this realization of like, I think I know what this is, and if I'm right, even though it's crazy, I can stop all this right now. Nobody else has to die. All I have to do is take my own life. And we don't know why he thinks that at this point in the show, but that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter that we don't know the specifics of it. All we have to know is that he fully believes it and then proceeds to try and fail over and over and over again to kill himself. My favorite of those is that beautifully shot moment where he jumps out of the window and then we see the entire floor move down. I love that effect that we're fully leaning into like that is like almost a surrealist monologue where Roderick is debating his own suicide. I really, really loved it. But from that scene, he goes to Victorine's, and there's a moment right when she's about to stab herself in the heart where she looks at him and she says,
I wish you just jumped.
I really wish you would have jumped.
Maybe that.
If you had have jumped, I wouldn't have to do this. And it's like, hold on. Hold on. You, Victorine, the character, don't know that Roderick Usher just didn't have the courage to commit suicide. How could you possibly know that? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
Seems to be coming from Verna, right?
Yeah, Verna. I mean, this could all be a Vanilla Sky situation. Not going to elaborate any further on what I mean by that. You all know. I mean, the relevancy of that being that we have like a potential immortality brain upload machine in play. So like, who knows what could be happening? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a cool Poe thing to happen, where it's like the realities bleeding together, and also, you know, one element that I keep kind of forgetting and then remembering is that this is all a story that's being told, by him to Dupin, which means that stuff like that could just be him embellishing or misremembering, you know, remembering something that didn't happen, or just, I mean, who, like any number of things. I mean, there's also a case to be made that lots of stuff that he's saying could just be an outright lie, right? Like one of the things that you can do with a structure like this is we've said this before, like you have a final episode where you show all of the specific points where it was like, actually, this is what happened and this is what happened. And anyway.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we've said, and we got an email to this effect from a listener a couple weeks ago. I didn't mention it to you because it was too early in the show, but the idea that we look at young Roderick Usher as this like kind of charming, innocent, aw shucks type of character, played wonderfully by Zach Gilford, who nails that particular thing. And then we look at the adult version of Roderick Usher as Bruce Greenwood is playing him and go like, man, what happened to make this guy into this guy? I don't see that connection at all. And there's an argument to be made. Well, maybe that's because Roderick Usher is telling this story of when he was a kid, and he's embellishing who he was a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's making himself, like, we're talking about this whole, it's like it was the influence of Madeline on you. Maybe Roderick Usher, in retelling the story and in doing his confession, because you just said a few minutes ago that Roderick Usher like loves to do this double think, that he can hold two things in his head at the same time. He's confessing to his crimes, but even while he's confessing, he can't help but, you know, say some stuff and do some stuff that has, as we've seen, gotten the ghost of his kids to pop out and be like, hey, shut up. So yeah, I mean, maybe there is a version of this where we can say how much of the picture that is being painted to us and to Dupin is accurate, perfectly accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the record, I'm not saying this is definitively where the show is going or not. Just that it is worth considering.
Yeah, yeah. And it just seems like the kind of thing that you would do in a story like this, and gonna re-emphasize that, like, he's supposed to be telling us, you know, the sordid confession, and it's like none of this is really a confession so far, right?
Yeah, I do. There's a moment where he first shows up at Vic's house and says like, I'm not really good at preamble, so I'll just get straight to the point. I've made a whole career of getting straight to the point. And I'm like, Roderick, you've been telling the same story for 5 hours, and you have not yet gotten to the point. So,
yeah.
I just enjoyed that. But I think this is a really great stuff to think about with him, for sure. And yeah, that moment of, I had forgotten that moment of you should have jumped. And so that in watching it this week, I was like, oh, that you're right. Verna is not present at the death of Victorine, but maybe she is a little bit. Maybe that's just Roderick's hallucination, right? I think we built a case for what that could be, right? Roderick is actively hallucinating his dead children constantly. Maybe that was just another hallucination.
Yeah, that's
maybe
possible.
Not.
It's possible.
Maybe not. I don't know. It's really great stuff, though. The horror of that, the horror of the reveal of Roderick opening the door and seeing poor Dr. Ruiz open on the table, with the heart continuing to beat, and then And then Vic just walking in and not being like, just being like,
she's not being a team player.
oh yeah, oh, don't you talk to me that way. And it's just like that, the moment. And like Bruce Greenwood, man,
You're fully funded.
she's quite dead, isn't she? Just the way he says that.
Yeah.
You're fully funded. But she is quite dead, isn't she?
Well, she's quite dead.
And while this is happening, the hue of the scene is slowly shifting to that orange color, just like it had earlier. It's a gruesome, horrible, wonderful reveal.
Yeah. I agree. My favorite part was the way she talks to her, and like you can almost imagine the other side of the conversation that she is seeing.
Yeah. Yep. And then that repeated line of that dead, useless heart, right? That thing's wrapped around that dead, useless heart, which is what Roderick said about the chimp that had the heart mesh on its after Camille died. So it's a perfect moment where she says, the work is everything, success is everything, and I'll give you a better heart. She stabs herself. Ouch.
Love it.
Rough way to go.
I guess we talked about the visual design of the device a bit, but it, for whatever reason in this episode, it really did jump out to me that it's like a cage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like it's like a, what is that thing? An oubliette or whatever.
Sure.
Am I thinking about the right thing? Probably
no.
I think that's something different. Anyway, it's an evil medieval looking thing. Yeah,
it is, and I believe at the center of it, it has what looks kind of like an eye, which is maybe part of our telltale heart of his creepy eye.
I like that.
I like it. Yeah. We talked a little bit about Tamerlane and Bill, but I want to make sure we spend some time on the scene. I just want to say, like, I meant to say this when we were talking earlier, like, attractive, talented actors arguing with each other is crack to me, and I just like love it. I just love it. I don't know what it is, but like I just love it. And so this Bill Tammy scene I really, really liked. I love how hurtful she is to him, and Sam Sloan is playing this so well. It's first of all, I love that it's I love that it starts with the pitch perfect I fell asleep and I don't want you to know I fell asleep.
Fall asleep in mid-sentence?
Did you just fall asleep mid-sentence?
No. But say that again.
Perfect.
Just saying, just like a few weeks.
But then yeah, like she goes into everything, she reveals everything. We talked about that a little bit. And she's obviously losing it. Like you went for a walk with that in the park with that whore. That was you psycho. And I just believe Bill here that she's just so fucked up from lack of sleep. The thing I want to talk to you about, Tammy. So again, we know a little bit about what Goldbug is now. We know it's this like kit, this wellness kit. It's been compared to Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's company, a few times now. It just doesn't seem like a great idea. It doesn't seem like an original idea. I think is what we can definitively say, right? That a company like this already exists. It's already out there. What is this doing that like, I mean, Goop is a perfect example. Like, what is this doing that need hasn't been given elsewhere? And I think Bill T makes the point in this thing is like, it's me. Like I am the differentiator here. I am the one that's bringing people to this. People like me, and I am selling them this thing. And she completely rejects that, right? Yeah. That is not what she says. But like, I don't know. I find it really interesting, like what this thing is supposed to be, and like the Tammy has like put everything she has into it. And speaking of put everything she has into it, we're told she's like not sleeping; she's constantly working. Matt, what is she doing? Because we like see her on a computer with like papers around her, which is like short form for work. But like, what is she doing?
Typing all work and no play makes Tammy yeah. I mean. One imagines that she's like going over all the like marketing plans and drafts. She probably has an army of marketing people who are giving her briefs on like, okay, we're gonna run the Instagram ads, and there's gonna be 7 different creatives that we're gonna optimize between, and you know we're gonna do some A/B testing, obviously, Tammy. So we need you to approve these, and I mean there's a lot of a lot of stuff like that you can spend your time doing.
Sure. I do think, like, considering that there's a big presentation a few days away, like, one of the things that I think a person who is about to plan a giant presentation and this huge event would be, like, confirming with vendors, talking with people about logistics. And we don't see any of that. And I'm like, let me be clear here. I'm not saying, like, the show is demonstrating definitively that Tammy isn't actually doing any work. That's not what I'm saying. I just think it's really interesting that we, like, see her, like, she can't sleep. She's constantly working. And that entails sitting on a bed with a computer open and papers around her. But, like, what do you do, Tammy? Like, what? Like, and there's another moment that supports this earlier. I think it's in the first episode when they're talking about maybe, like, postponing the launch of Goldbug. And she says something to the effect of, like, but the launch date is already in the presentation. I can't just change it. And I'm like, yeah, just what do you mean? Just like go in there and delete.
Yeah.
It seems like a thing that would be really easy to change. What she doesn't say is, like, oh, I've already booked the place. It's not any of that. It's just like, it's already built into the presentation, the launch date. Okay.
Yeah. So I like this because I don't know that I thought too much about what is Goldbug. Like, I think this ties really well into the themes of what we've been talking about today. The parent-shaped holes, the two parent-shaped holes that exist. So, like, Tammy is also trying to fill these holes. And the way, and so when you ask, like, what is the point of doing this? This business already exists. It's like, look, for her, it doesn't matter because for her, the priority is not money. I genuinely think the priority for her is, like, to have a bunch of people worshiping her and paying attention to her the way that she imagines they worship her father. And also just because that's the only way she can think of to get love is to have to be like this almost like goddess like figure, this Goldbug. For whatever reason, I'm imagining, like, the golden scarab. Maybe it's because we were just talking about Cleopatra, but it's like a sort of deification version of her. Or maybe it's because I have a golden scarab right there in my background. Maybe that's the other reason I'm thinking about a golden scarab.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But like, she's not really. That's why it pisses her off so much that Bill T says, hey, I'm actually the face of this. I'm actually, like, the subject of all the adulation that Goldbug is going to get. That's going to be aimed at me, Bill T, not you. The Usher heiress who nobody even knows what you look like. And this just enrages her. Like, as much as anything else that happens in the scene, I feel like that's one of the things that pushes her over the edge into basically totally rejecting him, because that's completely the opposite of what she wants to hear. She wants to hear about how this is all about her and she's going to be worshipped for her wonderful, wonderful brand that is just so amazing and awesome, and everyone loves her.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're spot on. I agree completely. And that is, like, that's the moment where she starts, like, throwing papers and screaming at him when he challenges her there. And again, speaking of things that we hear that reflect other conversations, we haven't talked about the Madeline and Rufus Griswold conversation yet, but there is a line in that is you can fuck me anytime you want, but don't fuck with me.
But don't you?
And as Tammy is yelling at Bill, it's an eerie echo of that. Is like you don't fuck me, I will fuck. She says I will fuck a trench through you, which is just fantastic.
Yeah,
I don't know who is responsible for that line in particular, but
she gets the best lines and she does it's just such fun deliveries.
Yeah. So I think that is another reflection of the Rufus Griswold effect on the Ushers. But all that to be said, there is that moment at the very end of the scene, right? He walks away and we get this wonderful, subtle Sam Sloyan moment where she almost says something, where she almost calls him back, where she almost recants what she said. Like, she has this just small gasp, where her face breaks just a little bit just for a brief amount of time, to the point where it communicates to you that maybe everything she said was true. Maybe it was a little bit of bullshit as well. The idea that she never loved this guy, that she picked him, maybe that part's true, right? Maybe like she approaches life via spreadsheets and optimization, but she developed feelings along the way.
Yeah.
I love that bit.
Yeah. I would be shocked if, she never actually had feelings for him. That doesn't feel right to me. The whole thing with the prostitutes sort of playing the role of her, like, what is she trying to get out of this? She's trying to imagine herself being a person that is capable of loving him in a normal way, but that kind of implies that she loves him in her weird twisted Usher way.
Yeah.
She just doesn't know how to express that properly. She
can't be that person, so she has to hire someone to play a version of her that is that person.
Yes.
And the idea that Bill would want to sleep with that version of her over the real version of her by choice, not under her direct power or command, is infuriating for her. She cannot tolerate that.
Yeah.
It's great. That's Tammy. We'll find out more about her next week on an episode titled Goldbug.
Yeah, one episode's worth more.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great transition to talk a little bit about the Madeline and Rufus Griswold scene, which is just electric. Speaking of people that I hope got bonuses, whoever picked out Rufus Griswold's tie to put the big red arrow that's pointing directly towards his penis. Perfect. Perfect. I don't know. See, like, that was probably just like a costume wardrobe decision thing that worked perfectly. What could it communicates? I like to think that was a Rufus Griswold wake up in the morning and say, I have a meeting with Madeline Usher this morning. I better wear my dick arrow tie.
Yeah. No, he's a subtle man. He, he's very suave and delicate with his innuendo. Yeah.
I think Trucco rules here. I think he's so nasty in just like, he just nails it. The idea that she's here to pitch him on computers and he's just like fucking with her the entire time.
Yeah.
Because like it basically says like, yeah, we've already bought all that stuff. We're already doing all that stuff. We're fully aware. You're not telling me anything I don't know. I'm here to just humiliate you. And then he goes on that humiliation speech of like, I don't even need to humiliate you actually, because you are the humiliation of the office. And he really tries to rip her down a peg. And like Madeline lets very little out as like a rule. That's like the type of character she is. But I don't know. I think this got to her. Right. I think that the language of the scene really shows how much this got to her.
Yeah, I think he definitely got himself walled up in a wall through. If he had reacted differently, he would not currently be inside of a wall in the basement. Yeah, no, I think he's great. I mean, we've seen him in a few things. I just got done rewatching Midnight Mass again for the 5th time or so. And so the mayor, character was fresh in my mind, and it's just such a jarring contrast. He's one of these actors who can make his face look like a different person between characters, and he's just so like hateful and angry and it's like all of the vices are in his face.
Oh yeah.
It's great.
The way he's just so openly like hitting on her and he doesn't give a shit, and it's so mean.
Yeah.
And
there's something really gross about how he tries to leverage his position of power to get sex, and then when he's rejected, immediately switches to just wrathful, like, I'm going to ruin you for this.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
I think that's another Victorine thing that is inherited, though, right? Because once again, like when Vic is fighting with Al early in the episode, she switches to this version of like anger at her, and they realize that track is not working. And then we didn't talk about it, but I love that moment when Vic is like I need you. Like she starts to threaten her, and like mid sentence is like, please, and then like she switches to sweet, like, please don't do this, I really care for you mode. And like, and it's similar to what Rufus does here, where he has a certain track where he's like hitting on her. It's like, how do you take your coffee, your breakfast? That's such a fucking
In the morning, you take
your morning coffee is what I mean.
For me right
Yeah.
now.
I love her in solitude answer.
In solitude.
And then he's just like, okay, well, if this isn't going to happen, then fuck this. I'm going to do the best I can to rip you apart emotionally. And it doesn't work for Madeline Usher because she's this incredibly strong, fierce woman, but it does infuriate her. I really like, we cut directly from this scene to another scene in the Roderick household. And did you see the split diopter in the scene, Matt?
Yes.
That is, so yeah, for those that didn't see it, when we cut right to Madeline and Annabelle Lee in the kitchen, that is a split diopter shot. We have Madeline closest to the frame, Annabelle Lee in the background. They are both in focus at the same time because there's two different focal lengths on those lenses. I know that. I know what a focal length is, Matt. That's about my lens work there.
Do you though?
Look, I know it makes a thing at a certain distance blurry or not blurry. I don't know why.
Yeah. Close enough.
But it does it. Yeah. I love that shot, tying into everything we've been talking about, and this crisis point of like Annabelle Lee representing this pure moral thing, Madeline representing for Roderick this immoral bad thing, and then we have them in this scene together, and we want them both to be in focus. We want to understand that both sides are right there, right in this moment. I think it was very, very effective for me.
Yeah, I like that.
But and we also learn that Dupont is they're working with him, right? This was kind of set up in the last episode. We see that has gone further. They are making plans. That was part of Madeline going in, is to learn some more, and they learn that there are papers, so they're going to go steal some documents now. And they're working with Dupont on stealing some documents. And
yeah, I mean, we can kind of start to guess at what the plan is here, where it's like Dupont thinks that they are working together to bring down the company. But then they end up sort of judoing it, where it's like they actually just kind of use him as a tool to tear down everyone between them and control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that is the crisis point that is coming up. And that is kind of the point where you can see why Dupont and Roderick are not good buddies anymore.
Yep.
Because of that moment that's coming.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dupont, Matt, he finally drank.
He drinks, takes a sip.
I was so happy. You noticed that he never drank. Because the first time he drinks is when he is admitting the thing that you were also right about. Although, to be fair, you guessed every possibility. So
that's true. I did a pretty good job of guessing every possible thing that could happen. So, but that's the beauty of prediction. I was right. I guessed exactly the truth.
I do think your first guess was that there was no informant, and this is just a manipulation tactic.
I mean, that was the first. I distinctly remember that was the first guess that occurred to me in the moment. Yeah. Was just like, well, that's what I would do. I mean, it's unethical, but like it's definitely going to rattle their cage.
Mm-hmm. I really love this. I do love that very subtle. Only you noticed it. Of course, other people did, but I'm glad you noticed it. That is the first moment he takes a drink of the alcohol offered to him is when he is admitting that he sunk down to Roderick's level to do something, that he played a little bit dirty. And you got to like really sympathize with the amount of guilt that he's probably carrying. That like part of when we see that scene with him and Pym talking about the deaths, and he's like, he says like, I thought they were all accidents.
You really
and like you can understand that part of that is this immense guilt that he's carrying. Like, did the thing I do, did the one moment I decided to break my ethics a little bit resulted in the death of 6 people? Is this my fault? And Roger kind of goads him on that. And again, that is the moment when the ghost of Vic shows up because he's being mean for no reason. He knows that is not the case. He knows that his lie here had nothing to do with why these kids died. At least that's what we're told. We don't understand why that's true right now, but that's what we're told. And I love that complication of that character, right? That maybe that's why he also was so quick to answer the summon of Roderick Usher. Is he's carrying this guilt. He's watched these 6 children die. He knows he did something wrong, unethical, and he watched this happen, and he's guilty about it. And then Roderick sits him down and says, well, you know how all the deaths of those 6 kids were accidents? They weren't. They weren't accidents. And you can kind of see,
one had nothing to do with
if you go back and look at those early episodes, you can see Dupont react to that in a way that's like,
you can let that
what? Mm-hmm. What do you mean? No, they were accidents. And because he's desperately dealing with the same guilt that so many other our characters are dealing with.
Yeah.
That I am responsible for this.
Yeah, it does kind of change my sense of him, by the way, because I have thought prior to this episode that he was, 5 moves ahead of Roderick and mm-hmm. Was only coming to this meeting in the first place because he had it all gamed out. But now I'm thinking it's maybe not, maybe he's going to put stuff together in this scene, right? We're still going to get to see him be this brilliant, deductive detective, mm-hmm. but it's not going to be like he already had it figured out. It's more like he's going to figure it out kind of in the last episode or two, in a way that, probably some kind of climactic action, right? Like by taking a drink, I've been worried this whole time that there's some poison in the alcohol, and maybe some kind of slow acting poison, so Roderick can get through his story as he's drinking it. But now Dupont has taken the poison. Why else? It's a fun symbol to say he's not going to drink, but then he's going to drink when he's compromised himself. But I also, I don't know. There's just something Poe about having there be poison. We'll see.
I like that Roderick says to him, "Drag me, you fucking honey badger."
Drag me, you fucking honey
when they're yelling
badger.
at each other.
Got you off your white horse and down here in the mud.
Because Roderick is just so delighted to learn that he got himself dirty to do this.
Yeah.
And then he tries to assuage him from that guilt. I love
and the mind of guilt.
The mind is guilt. Of guilt is full of scorpions, and I wouldn't wish their sting on anyone. The mind of guilt is full of scorpions. That's Shakespeare. That's from Macbeth.
And I wouldn't wish their sting on anyone.
I was looking at the rest of it because he says, "And I wouldn't wish their sting on anyone. Never waste your time on guilt and shame. Is there alchemy a savage cross to bear?" I don't think that part's from Macbeth, but it's so very well written. If that's just the writers of the show, that's great. I love that.
I love that.
Yeah, and then I know we talked about Madeline a little bit. I did want to at least introduce the idea that this is the first time that we've made a comparison. So we've always had the Frederick thing. Vic in this episode makes a Madeline Tamerlane comparison, right? That Frederick is Roderick, Tammy is Madeline. And you can kind of see it, right? I think, you were talking about Cleopatra, or that you think the Goldbug is a scarab because of Cleopatra. And I was like, yeah, because they're similar. Even the idea of starting a wellness company is for health, for prolonging your life in a way. Maybe there is a more similarities there than we've seen so far, but just it feels like the show is introducing this concept for us.
It just seems like
these two women.
I like that. I like that a lot. It just seems like Tammy's not as. Madeline is. We are told repeatedly that she's a once a generation genius, mm-hmm. and Tammy just is not characterized that way.
I don't believe she is.
She's ambitious, but she's not as smart as her aunt.
But that would also align with the Frederick is a Timu version of Roderick.
Yeah.
A little bit there. So
that's true. She kind of has all of Madeline's worst qualities, but none of her redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
It's kind of both of them, actually. Yeah, that's great.
It is. Did you want to talk a little bit about operant conditioning?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about that.
So yeah, this is a scene. This is the scene with Verna doing her, once an episode she meets with the person who's going to die and has a reveal moment. This is where she shifts from Carla Gugino doing this frail woman that needs heart surgery to Carla Gugino just being Carla Gugino and amazing. And she talks about operant conditioning, and the show builds this
It's what a horse has.
metaphor around horses. Where I'll read the quote here and then we can talk about it. It said, it's what a horse has that lets them know a rider might be nervous or hesitant. They read erratic behavior, not fear exactly, but animals learn real quick to avoid that person. That's you in a nutshell, talking to Vic. You're so out of touch with your human side, you can't even listen to anything outside your own head. I struggle with this one a bit, Matt, to be honest with you, because I feel like that could be an interpretation of what operant conditioning is, but that's not exactly what operant conditioning is. Like, operant conditioning is not simply just, a horse knows to stay away from a person that is jittery. Operant conditioning is just like, I think you and I were talking about this earlier. It's just Pavlov. It's reward or deny, like giving or denying of a reward to condition an animal to behave in a certain way.
Right.
Essentially.
Which, yeah, go ahead because you're gonna bring it home.
So, I really struggle with this because the first time I read it, I was like, well, what does it have to do? What does it have to do with what we're talking about here? I was like, what do you mean, Verna? And I think I eventually got there, and I want to hear what you have to say, and maybe we can let our listeners weigh in as well.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I'll say it, but I feel like you put this together for me, so that's why I was going to let you say it.
No, you go for it.
But just the idea that like in this metaphor, she is the horse who has been conditioned by her dad.
Yeah.
She has been, like you said, carrot and stick, reward and punishment. She has been conditioned to basically be this twitchy mess that she is, where she is delusional. She has been broken by the idea of like, you've got to do this impossible thing for not just love, but even like, material comfort and just everything in your life actually depends on your performance, right? Kind of like an animal. It's interesting how like this particular one, the use of the apes as the test subjects, it's like, well, she's kind of, I don't know, this may be a stretch, but she's kind of a test subject, right? Like we're not doing operant conditioning on the apes, but apes, Pavlov's dogs, right? The dogs is how they developed the theory of conditioning, and which is a whole can of worms, because a lot of the early scientists didn't think that animals could feel pain to cause all kinds of horrible things. Anyway, I don't know what. I think you were the one who kind of opened this up. So yeah, why don't you tell me what you think?
Yeah, so I essentially feel like what Verna is saying to her here is that like, you have been conditioned by your father over your entire life, but your father is this nervous, hesitant, erratic person. And so your response to this has been this kind of weird conditioning where you don't actually know how to react to things because it's been so inconsistent and erratic. Like the idea that an animal prefers to be around a type of person who will be consistent in their reward or punishment, right? Because that is easy to understand and they like that. And that is how you condition them. But Roderick is this incredibly erratic person who like withholds and then gives at a seeming whim that is inconsistent and confusing. And so Victorine is just so fucked, so conditioned to not know what to do that she just like loses, I think, like you're so out of touch with your human side. She has just kind of devolved into the animalistic conditioning version of her, which just doesn't know, is this going to be a punishment or is this going to be a reward? And so when she gets around people like that, she lashes out. As a horse, she bucks the rider, right? This is what she does to Ruiz. Like, she doesn't know what she's been conditioned, but she hasn't been conditioned well. And so I think it took me a bit to get there. It's a little complex of an idea of a central image here. Once I got it, once it clicked for me, I really like this. Maybe it's a critique to say that like it took a lot of like me, like the first time I heard Verna say that, my response was, what? What do you mean? And it took me a bit to get there, but no, I really like this a whole lot.
Yeah, cool.
I did just want to say, since you brought up apes, I love when Tammy says, wasn't it one of your flying monkeys that just ripped off Camille's face? And Vic's response is, they're apes. She doesn't challenge the whole yes, it is one of my monkeys that just killed our sister. She's like, they're apes. Didn't you pass second grade?
Yeah. I like that too, because it's like, this is one of the ways in which she feels superior to them, is she's like into like medical stuff and smart.
Yeah, I'm smarter than you.
Yeah. And they're all, you're like, you're just, business people. What do you know about it?
Is she a doctor?
See, that I kind of assumed she was, because of like, we see her with the surgical mask on in the first episode.
Yeah.
For ish. But now I'm not so sure anymore. I'm just not sure.
I think maybe she is. I think maybe she's supposed to be. But I mean, that actually brings me back to that scene with Verna, because she says, she kind of poses a similar, speaking of the how things are connecting to Madeline, she poses a similar question to Vic, I think, here, where in the very beginning of the episode, she asks Madeline, would you rather be rich or famous? And here, as Verna, she says a similar version of that question is, would you rather be famous or save lives? And the implication here, we don't actually get to, the show doesn't come right out and tell us which Vic cares more about, but by implication, it's the thing she cares about more is being famous. That the saving lives, that getting into this heart thing to save lives, that getting, even if she is a doctor, that getting into medicine, that getting into this thing to help people was never part of the equation. That what she really cared about more than anything was just being famous, having this legacy. And that, I think, in the Madeline and Roderick Usher comparison, that is Roderick, right? Like I think we saw her ask that same question to Madeline. We saw Verna ask that question, rich or famous. I think Roderick answers famous.
Yeah.
I think being rich is a means to being famous. Roderick is much more concerned with his legacy. He's much more concerned with how he's perceived. I think that is part of the reason why he is so resistant to the idea that this drug is bad and that his company is bad, because he cares about that perception. And that's probably, sadly, also part of the reason why he wants to support his family and invite these ushers in. I think part of it is childhood trauma. But part of it is also like to be seen as the kind benefactor of his bastards, that he's not going to leave these children out in the cold. He's going to help them.
Yeah. Love it.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I hit all my bullet points. Now we can segue on to talking about Victorine's legacy of her flying monkeys.
Okay, just one more thing I wanted to say. In the funeral scene, we didn't talk about this. We were talking about it on the organ. They're playing "Nearer My God to Thee," which loved.
Yep.
Sitting here watching the episode earlier today, and I was like, "Wait a minute." That was a really fun moment there, and that was it. That was the one thing I wanted to make sure we hit on.
Awesome.
But really great episode. I think one thing we didn't talk about a lot is Pym. I'm just putting a pin in Pym. Like we've gotten little hints and bits about Pym, but we still don't know his full story, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when an episode or two ago we were like, no, I was sort of having the experience of paying attention to him for the first time as more than a background element, which it's like it's Mark Hamill, so so you probably should pay attention. Because he's far from a bit character. He's interesting.
For sure. And I think the episode this time like even poses the question that we asked, which is like, why do you work for these people? Like if you're so good at law, like why have you hitched yourself to this train?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You could do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I wouldn't be where I am today without Roger Usher. Okay. It's vague.
I love his little glasses.
I love that he's always doing the crossword puzzle. I love the moment of like, love Bergman. When he says like, we should be on a beach with a chessboard. Love Bergman. Just to say it as well, the judge, we haven't said this yet, I think. The judge in this case is named John Neal. And John Neal was the name of a very influential writer and literary critic in Poe's time that actually is one of the people, one of the things he liked to do was like find new up and coming artists and really profile them in his literary writings. And Edgar Allan Poe was one of those people. He's one of the people that is credited for discovering Poe.
Cool.
And when Rufus Griswold was horribly slandering Poe after his death, remember when he wrote his biography and just lied? John Neal was one of the men like defending Poe, like writing to defend Poe that this biography written by his enemy was just false. So maybe that means the judge is not very impartial in this case.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this is one of our rare instances of a guy who's actually just good. Mm-hmm. So maybe the judge, I don't know. Maybe I don't know that we're going to conclude anything from this, but that's interesting. It's good to know.
We might not. I just want to say it because I feel like there's going to be people that are like, look at all these Poe references that you guys didn't talk about. And I just want to be clear here. Like literally every single thing in this story is a Poe reference. Like I don't think we've said Bill T is a Poe reference. Like his name, his name is Bill T Wilson and it's named off a character named William Wilson. And the T was just added.
Does he say get built?
He doesn't. The T was added by, so remember the conversation we had last week about the T in Bill T being for Tamerlane?
Uh-huh.
I was being cheeky and I was like, I'm going to email Matt Bidell and ask him if that's what the T stands for.
Uh-huh.
And Matt was just like, no. It was just because so it would say built. I was like, but I like mine better.
He doesn't in the Poe story. He doesn't say we built this city with heart. We built this body with heart and soul. No, that's not in the book.
No. Okay. Did we have this conversation already? I swear to God, it's been a week since I podcasted.
Maybe it's happened. It's happened before.
The amount of time I've listened to us talk about stuff and then gone, oh, we said that already. It's pretty high.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're finally ready, Matt,
for
some discussion questions.
All right. So this week's discussion question was, what's the best ape movies? Best ape movies. We're trying to increase the percentage of episodes where we talk about apes. So
can I just say before we read this, a lot of listeners out there whom I love decided to go, well, humans are technically apes. So all movies are made by apes. To which I say, shut up. you know what we went. You know what we meant.
Yeah. Did somebody answer The Godfather and then just give the answer completely straight? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Baby King You Dig Your Sam says, so many movies with primates in them, it's hard to choose. I do remember watching George Romero's Monkey Shines as a kid, but I mostly remember the sex scene in that movie. Congo is a terrible movie, but it does have another priceless performance by Tim Curry as Herkimer Homolka. What a great name. Probably my favorite is Jordan Peele's Nope. Excellent commentary on show business and a terrifying chimp rampage. Yeah, that's a fantastic chimp rampage.
I remember the first time I watched Congo, and I was a young child who thought that was a good movie.
I mean, the scary, like the evil monkeys, the evil, like murder apes in that movie are genuinely scary when you're, a kid.
Yeah, totally. All right, Pear Jane says Trading Places all the way. What a better way to get rid of a villain than stuff him in Jim Belushi's gorilla costume and stow him with a real caged gorilla on a train in New York doing a New Year's Eve party while leaving them both in the care of drunk Al Franken and Tom Davis. It's been too long since I've seen that movie, but I agree.
It's a great one. I forgot about when she said Trading Places. I was like, "There's a monkey in that," and then I remember that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right. Willow Chef says the most amazing primate story of all time is Gorillas in the Mist, the story of Diane Foss, who lived with the mountain gorillas in Rwanda in the 70s and 80s until she was murdered for her work. She documented much of what we know about the animals in the wild and the effects of poaching. That movie was transformative for me. Did I say your name wrong?
Yeah, it's Fosse.
Fosse, sorry.
At least I think so. Diane Fosse was played by Sigourney Weaver in that movie, which means it was one of my favorite movies ever because I was in love with Sigourney Weaver.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I love this movie. I did a whole book report, or I guess report, whatever. I did a whole report on Diane Fosse because I watched this movie and became obsessed with it. It is a very sad story. They literally snuck into her tent, the poachers, and murdered her because she was stopping their poaching of gorillas. It's awful. It's really awful. Yeah. House of Seven Paws says Peter Jackson's King Kong remake is a movie with lots of problems, but every part of it that's really about Kong, I fully love. They made a good choice to use more of a real silverback gorilla look, which doesn't make him any more of a realistic giant ape, but provides good ideas for Andy Serkis's very fun physical performance. They never lose sight of the basic appeal of why Kong has to be an ape, that he's human enough for you to identify with him in a kind of wouldn't it be fun to be a huge superpowered toddler way, but just like a superpowered toddler, he could absolutely decide to kill you because he's angry or just because he's bored. His two quiet scenes with Naomi Watts, first when she's desperately trying to stay alive by keeping him entertained, and later when they're just both enjoying hanging out in Central Park, are worth the rest of the movie. I completely agree with this take, and I think that's a good movie. It's got some not good parts in it, and it's too long, but I enjoy Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yeah, me too. I think the main thing, the main criticism that I have of Peter Jackson's King Kong is it wasn't somehow a fourth Lord of the Rings film.
They were going to work that in, but at the last minute, they decided to pull that out. Yeah.
I think that was most people's problem with it, to be honest.
I still remember I went and saw that movie with a girl I was dating in college. One of the nicest girls ever. She's great. She did not know the story of King Kong somehow. Before, imagine just not knowing how King Kong ends. And there was this moment where he's on the Empire State Building and is dying, and she's crying. Are they gonna kill the monkey? I was like, it's King Kong.
It's King Kong. Haven't you ever seen anything else in pop culture that either has this scene on a TV in a different scene, or does a spoof of the scene?
Somehow she had never seen King Kong or heard or knew. Incredible. I was flabbergasted. It was adorable. I wasn't mad about it, but it was just I was like, what did you think was going to happen after he climbed up the building? I don't know. He was going to climb down. So every time I think of Peter Jackson's King Kong, I will think of Natalie from 11th, or from, when was that? I think that was sophomore year of college, or junior. I don't know. I'll think of Natalie crying as she realized that King Kong was not going to survive the movie.
And did you say it was beauty that killed the beast?
I didn't. Actually, Jack Black said that for me. I didn't have to.
Well, high on ecstasy. Apparently he was high on ecstasy for the whole movie. This is trivia for you.
Wait, what? I thought you were just joking.
No, it's Jack Black, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cat Shuts Up Reads says, definitely Disney's 1999 Tarzan. We've got Tony Hawk inspired animation, Minnie Driver, who will never not be awesome, and solid Phil Collins tunes, and an opening sequence to a children's movie featuring a bloody treehouse floor. Yeah, that is a pretty dope movie, actually. No further comments. It's just actually great.
Is it the most 90s movie that's ever existed? Where they're like, how do we show Tarzan moving through the jungle? And they're like, what if,
Tony Hawk.
what if we just make it so he's skateboarding on the trees?
Skateboarding the trees with Phil Collins. Backtrack. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's 1999. It's the peak of human civilization.
That's true.
Thus, The Matrix and Tarzan, the two best movies ever made.
It's amazing how the Wachowskis just completely called that.
Yeah. It's in the movie. Yeah. All right. Remaining answers. Ovaltine Jenkins says Every Which Way But Loose, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I don't remember there being a monkey in that movie, but I bet.
And Jay and Silent Bob?
Yeah.
Wow, you have not seen that movie in a while.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
The monkey plays a pretty big role in the movie.
Maybe I've never seen Strike Back. Maybe I've never seen Strike Back. Maybe I've only seen the first one.
It's not very good. It's not.
Yeah, I don't really care for. Don't really care for that. Steve Living Room CO says Ishmael, the telepathic gorilla from Daniel Quinn's novel explaining Adam and Eve as an agricultural revolution parable. Well, I love every word in that answer. OK Road 2424 says Dawn of the Planet of the Apes for memorable characters, especially the Caesar/Koba ending. I mean, yeah, this is the correct answer.
This is just the answer. Yeah.
Goombill says this one got messed up somehow. Sorry, Goombill. Oh, nope. Sorry, nope.
No, see, I read this as him saying, no, I don't have an answer. But no, the answer is
yes.
The movie Nope.
I my brain failed the first time. Yes, the movie Nope, making us all tense watching the apes. Hobo Demon says Everything Everywhere All at Once, featuring the hot dog finger homage to 2001's Apes. Yes, that's a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Odin's Ghost says Congo. Amy C. Ugly Gorilla, go away. It's great. That was great. That was a great movie. Mm-hmm. Don Zest says Beneath the Planet of the Apes for being completely bonkers, teleporting atom bomb worshippers with Earth destroyed. Yep.
God, that's a great series.
Just reminding everyone that we did a whole Doofcast series where we did each of the Planet of the Apes movies, all of them, 100% of them, and it was so much fun.
And they're all so amazing.
Yep.
And it's the best movie series of all time.
Yep. Duran Longbeard says Congo, best enjoyed as a double feature with The Room and Wine. Bent Westward says Shakma, a baboon outacts the entire cast in gloriously unhinged B-movie train wreck. Don't know what that is, but sounds fun.
Mm-mm.
Sandy Bones says recent film Primate, where midway through you realize the villain is a chimp. Ever heard of this either? Sounds terrifying.
It came out just this year. I haven't seen it
yet. Scarlet Claret says Monkey Island games featuring pirate orangutan Le Chimp and insult sword fighting. I know you've played the Monkey Island games? I never did. Yeah, I know you did. You and Michael talk about it. And then Vildia says Mighty Joe Young and King Kong versus Godzilla films. Yeah, the King Kong versus Godzilla films. Everybody loves those.
Yeah, those are movies.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That was a bunch of answers. Lots of good monkey movies out there.
Yeah.
I hope they continue to make Planet of the Apes movies forever.
They will.
I think there is another one coming out. Like we talked about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which we still liked, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we did. Yeah, there's always money in the monkey business.
All right. On that note, what are we asking the folks next week, Matt?
Next week, the question is, what's your favorite obvious Telltale Heart reference? You know what we mean.
I think this is a good one because like the Telltale Heart has been either parodied or just been influenced, or just like it's been done again and again and again and again throughout cinema and storytelling. And I think there's a lot of choices for this one for sure.
Yeah, even if it's just an offhand reference in something else, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. that is going to wrap up episode 5 of The Fall of the House of Usher. As we said, next week, episode 6 is Goldbug. That is our Tammy Usher highlight episode. She's going to have a great day. The launch is going to go great, Matt. Nothing is going to happen at all. It's going to go perfect. Goldbug.
I'm so excited for her. Remember, you can reach us via email at flanaganswakepod@gmail.com. And we're on all the socials. But the subreddit at reddit.com/r/doofmedia is the best place to answer that discussion question. Don't forget, you can find all of our episodes on YouTube and Spotify on video format. You can see our cool backgrounds.
Yeah, and you get to see the interviews will be on those too. If you want to watch the interviews we're having with the great Sam Sloyan and others, those make really good video watches, I think.
Yeah.
But if you want to get some merch, you can do that over at doofmedia.myshopify.com. That's where you'll find our brand new Follow the House of Usher #lemon mug. We make lemonade. It is this wonderful design that has the full lemon speech on it. I just got it the other day. I haven't washed it yet, so I can't use it. But maybe you'll see it next week. It's a great mug. I love it. Please get that. And we also have our Get Built t-shirts, and just got my wife a Get Built tank top for her to go work out in, and I'm sure get lots of questions on what that's for. But that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it, folks. There's lots of great merch over there. We have so many things now. We're adding new things all the time. It's meant to be fun. So head on over there and check it out.
Yeah. And if you like any of our shows and you want to support us, then please consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/doofmedia. Like we mentioned a bit ago, we've got all kinds of cool features over there. Scott's going through The Sopranos episode by episode and doing a one-man show. I'm writing a novel week to week. We're doing...
It's a one-man novel.
One-man novel. Yeah, one of those. We got book club coming up soon, I think.
Well, it'll be in the past for these people, but...
Yeah, we put that awful close to 4th of July, but I guess that's okay.
It's the night before.
It's real close.
Nobody celebrates the 4th of July on the 3rd of July. Wouldn't make any sense.
Okay, you're right.
It'll be fine. We can move it if we need to. The point is, it will have probably already happened by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah.
All right. And if you don't want to support us over on Patreon, that's okay. You can help us out. Please share the episode. Please leave us rating and reviews. I'm continuing, Matt, with my exploration of the world in our reviews elsewhere. We have another review from Canada this week that comes from Nayla Smith, who gives us 5 stars and says, truly amazing. They say, I first started listening to Scott and Matt on their phenomenal Kingslingers podcast, and Flanagan's Wake is just as great. Their analysis is insightful, kind, funny, and helps me enjoy the media I love so much more. I find myself wishing they had an episode for literally everything I watch or read. Never stop podcasting. We will, because Matt is going to unlock the immortality thing, and so we will have literally an infinite amount of time to do that.
He's correct. That's not a joke.
Would you support an AI version of us that podcasts just like we do, but does it on everything that's ever existed? Is that an ethical use of AI, Matt?
I feel like if you'd asked me that question like 5 years ago, I would have been like, of course, I would love to be an AI. But now that has shifted to mean like, no, we mean like an LLM that has been trained to sound like you.
I don't like that.
Which is not at all the same.
For the record, I don't like either option. just for the record. Neither one of them makes me filled with joy.
Neither one, huh?
This is where we differ.
That's okay. That's the fun. That's the fun of it, Scott, is the different perspectives.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you back next week for the Fall of the House of Usher, episode 6, Goldbug. Until then, do you hear that, Mr. Flanagan? You hear that, right? You hear it? What are you doing?
I hear something.
Are you opening a desk?
I hear something.
Okay.